What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new Pokemon Duel video. Today, we're going to be jumping headfirst into the stat balance changes they actually made to a bunch of figures for this most recent update. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about the recommended booster and if you guys should be going ahead and opening up some boosters on it. Let's just jump right into it. So first off, we've got Infernape. Now, Infernape's a little bit of a case of just a figure falling into obscurity because it gets outranked by pretty much every other new figure. It has a yellow portion, it has a now new blue portion where Dodge used to be, and it's actually got somewhat of a niche use now, which we're going to talk about shortly. But basically, it just was outranked by everything else that came out, and even now, I don't know with these buffs if it's going to be usable in high-tier ranked matches, but when you first get it, and especially in the incoming Gym Cup, which is going to be a Dark Gym Cup with the Fighting type buff to damage, it might actually be pretty decent. So looking into it, first off, Dodge became Detect. No changes on the slice size, but it does become Detect. Now, Detect is only able to properly proc when you're being attacked, so when someone goes on the offensive against your Infernape. And if it actually does go off successfully, then your Infernape's going to get +1 MP during the next turn. That's not fantastic, but it is a welcome change in a figure that's not really unique in any other way. They've also decided to increase Drive Kick from 80 damage to 90 damage, and honestly, that's really not that big of a deal. It's not a huge change, and 90 damage is increasingly becoming outranked by new figures. Most of them have 100+ or even 120 plus on their wheels for a decent size of them, and even with like the buffs and synergies you get from like a water team, you're not going to be able to beat it with an Infernape. There's just no way. I just don't think these buffs are good enough to make Infernape useful. I think that he's going to be great if you're first getting into ranked and you just manage to pull him in the recommended booster or in another booster. I think he's going to be great in the incoming Dark Gym Cup because of his damage buff. It's going to make him a little bit more relevant anyways. But otherwise, I'm just not seeing it, guys. Next, we have my favorite buff for this entire stat balance adjustment, Keldeo. Now, the effect of Justified has changed to make it so you're not going to be directly impacting the power of your very own Keldeo by what you're running on your team. So now I can actually use Greninja alongside Keldeo in ranked matches and not be hurting the damage Keldeo can do. And I'm very happy about that. So Justified ability change is awesome. The wheel piece size of Sacred Sword has been increased, and the wheel piece size of Miss has been decreased, so that's amazing in and of itself. And I just, overall, I'm super hyped about this whole change. It brings it down to have only an 8% Miss, which is fantastic. I'm really excited, guys. It's a Water-type Pokemon, but other than that, I mean, it's just a really fun Pokemon to play, and the variance in what can happen with it, with Hydro Kick and with its Sacred Sword, I mean, it's just a fun Pokemon, so super hyped about that. Probably going to be fantastic in the incoming Gym Cup because it's getting buffed when your opponent's running Dark-type Pokemon. And with Yveltal being a 3 MP Pokemon in the incoming Gym Cup, I do think Keldeo is going to be a fantastic figure to run. Next up, guys, we've got Darkrai. Now, Darkrai has got a whole bunch of buffs to make it a little more relevant in the current aspects of the game. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's like Groudon and Kyogre where it really needed a buff to become relevant again. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, this came out before the global release of Pokemon Duel, so we didn't have access to it as global release players. Only the Japanese players that picked up the game around the start of the game had access to it as a reward. So, basically, Darkrai's got a bunch of buffs to make it so, first off, it can actually put Pokemon to sleep to activate its ability, and now its ability was also buffed to make it so you don't knock out your own Pokemon if Darkrai just happens to fly by them and then knock them out if they're just happen to be sleeping. So basically, this is all just a bunch of buffs to make him more relevant for a game plan that focuses on putting opponents' Pokemon to sleep. And I really do like that game plan. I think it's going to be a lot of fun in the future to try out sort of a cheesy deck that uses Darkrai to knock out your opponent's Pokemon. And maybe even go so far as just giving your opponent a weight loss because you put all their Pokemon to sleep. Do I think these changes are going to make Darkrai relevant? Probably not. He's probably going to just be a fun figure to use, and he's just going to be a lot different as far as your game plan is concerned when you're playing decks that use him as the centerpiece. Next up, guys, we've got some changes to Banette. Now, Banette has had a very interesting change made to its Curse ability, or rather, the cursed marker that it puts on with the curse ability. It's also had Shadow Claw and Nightshade switched around, and Nightshade has been buffed by 10 damage, which those last two changes really aren't relevant, but the curse marker is actually very relevant. So Banette's curse marker originally worked as follows. What happened was you put a curse marker on your opponent if you actually won the roll with a 1-star purple or a 2-star purple if it's evolved, and you put a curse marker on your opponent and on yourself. Then you get knocked out by your opponent, and both Pokemon that have the curse marker on your side and Pokemon that have the curse marker on your opponent's side are going to be knocked out and removed from the duel permanently. See guys, this changes the whole gameplay that you're going to be going for with Banette. Before, it was trying to get as many curse markers down as possible before you lose your Banette. Now, it could very well be a cycle deck where you try to suicide your Banette into opposing Pokemon to cycle them and use something like a Ho-Oh or a couple Magikarps to stall the game and cycle your Pokemon a little bit more, and just continually try to apply curse markers and then knock out the opposing Pokemon and remove them from the duel permanently. I'm actually very excited for this change. I think it's going to be very fun in the future because I think that it's going to be a great cheese deck to try out. Again, I don't think it's going to be crazy in ranked matches, but it might be a lot of fun to play. And when it does work out, it's going to be something just absolutely ridiculous to see as an opponent to it, but absolutely ridiculous to see as someone that's playing it as well. Next up, guys, we've got Absol. Now, Absol is a very interesting Pokemon to make some changes to here because it's actually just a more powerful Banette if you consider the fact that Perish Song affects more than just the Pokemon you're targeting, but the adjacent Pokemon as well. So, Double Edge was just sort of a mediocre move that it had. It sort of knocked itself out as well, so it's not that big of a deal that it got changed and taken away from it. Razor Wind to Night Slash and Scratch to Razor Wind, I don't think those are relevant either, but Perish Song is a very, very fun, basically just a curse that applies to the adjacent Pokemon as well type move, and I'm excited to see if there's actually an exclusion-based deck that just sort of evolves and comes into play after these changes. I mean, I think Absol and Banette together could be the powerhouses for trying to fuel those types of strategies. So, guys, I just really hope that this whole strategy revolving around the curse marker actually comes to fruition and makes a deck, because it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun, albeit probably not consistent enough to actually make it into any ranked meta. But, I mean, it looks like a cool strategy. So moving on, because I don't think that the other figures are going to actually see any more play because of the balance changes that they got, we're going to see two older EX plates that actually were taken out of the recommended boosters and the shop for a long time come back into the game. We're talking about Recycle and the Invisibility Cape. So Recycle makes all plates from both players become usable except Recycle, and it will also end your turn. And I'm really actually pretty excited to go ahead and try this out in Double Dragon decks, because I think that recycling your Overdrive plates and maybe some double chances possibly could be a very fun thing. Also, maybe an Overdrive plate or two and a Hurdle Jump or a Goal Block. Having access to more of those types of plates and those utilities when you're playing a Double Dragons deck seems absolutely invaluable. So I'm excited to try that out. Invisibility Cape looks a little bit interesting as well, because it's something that makes it so, you know, Deoxys Speed Form, for example, can move through Pokemon. It can make it so you can go ahead and move through Pokemon with Ninjask, sort of put your opponent into a position where if they're overextended, then they're going to be screwed if they can't win against your Pokemon, or use a goal block or other methods to go ahead and put a Pokemon on their own goal. Now, finally, let's talk a little bit about the new recommended booster, or basically just the recycled recommended booster, because we didn't actually get any new figures. So we've got Keldeo, Yveltal, Cobalion, Virizion, Infernape, Lucario, Terrakion, and Noivern. So the stuff we got the last recommended booster, and some old favorites that either got buffed or will get buffed in the next Gym Cup. So do I think you guys should go ahead and pull on this recommended booster? No, I don't. I don't think it's worth it. I think that there are some great figures in this, and if you do really want some of those figures, maybe go ahead and pull for it, but you can't guarantee you're going to get the good EXs that are in this booster, and some of them are really only back and only going to be relevant because they're in the Gym Cup. I would definitely wait for the next recommended booster when there are going to be actual new figures in the recommended booster, and not just sort of rehashing what we've already got before. Even looking at the rares, just going down the list right now, I'm not seeing anything I'm super excited about being there, so I just have to recommend skipping this one. And guys, that's gonna be about it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you back here for the next video very shortly, and until then, peace.